Ladies and gentlemen, we now get back to the action at hand. It's the last of the qualifying heats for the seniors. Oh, and we've already got drama before we've even gotten started. So, luckily enough, one driver was able to, and that was just off of. So let's just keep an eye. I'm wondering, was that? Wondering who that was, but I'm not too sure. Hang on a second. I think I've recognised that race suit. That's Bradley Barrett, who was beached off of turn 2 just now. So that's a bit of a drama. Unfortunately, that sometimes can... now, when we were due to go with this, now I don't know if there has been a change. I was hearing whether there may be some sort of penalties issued by the race stewards in the race direction, but I don't think that will be the case. Well, it looks like our front row is going to be Axel Sanyala with Mick Knowlton in alongside him in the front row with Morin Sjöberg. Barrett is meant to be up there at the front, but because of the spin, now I think he's having to start way down the order. But let's just keep an eye on this as they're now starting to slow down. So this has changed the order dramatically. It's definitely not the start that somebody like Bradley Barrett would have wanted, but he's now got to roll with it. They're now in the tram lines. Revs rise and we're off. The final time for the Senior Max is going into turn number 1, and it's 2, 3 abreast. A little bit further down the order, going into turn number 1 for the first time of asking. And there are people trying to... Oh, and there's contact a little bit further down the back as well. Someone's just dropped at least 3 to 4 places as we've got someone very off the wide at turn number 3. Oh my goodness. That was a bit of a save there, but that person might have been pushed a little bit too wide. And, well... Do my eyes deceive me? Unfortunately not. It's Bradley Barrett that has just had major drama. We've got more dramas off of turn number 5. More dramas off of turn number 5. My goodness. So 2 karts involved. Both have now regained position, but now it looks like at the front of the field it's Hannes Morin in the 219. Mick Knowlton now in second with the 250 of Vava. And this means that Sanyala has lost out to Sjöberg as well. So drama's up and down the field, and it looks like Jensen and Vertela were the 2 involved in that that coming together just off of turn number 5. So at the moment, well, Mick Knowlton has just gone right past Hannes Morin going into turn number 5 to retake the lead. And in the meantime, Philip Vava is really on the back bumper of the pair of them. This is a really interesting battle. Oh, and we've got major dramas off of turn 6 and 7. And that looks to be at least 1, 2, I think maybe Dan Holland Racing drivers involved there. That's 3 karts involved, all now getting back on track. So... Brown Nutley's involved in that melee. David Remy's also involved. Miles Apps was the other kart. So 2 Brits involved in that one. So the Brits are not having a great day behind the wheel this afternoon. But that has allowed Bradley Barrett to now go back up into 22nd position. He was due to start 5th, but that spin at turn 2 on the formation lap really compromised his race. But meanwhile, at the front of the field, Mick Knowlton continues to lead. He's now starting to pull away from Hannes Morin and Philip Vava. And in the meantime, Jesper Sjöberg is currently 4th as Vava goes right up the inside of Hannes Morin into the final corner. Nice quick work by the Spaniard. He's got to get a move on if he wants to catch up, but Hannes Morin is not letting him out of his grasp going into turn number 1. And I definitely favour Hannes Morin in this battle. As Sanyala has also now clawed his way back into the into this, along with Jesper Sjöberg as well. Jansson and Asland, Kverkjeld, Knutsson and Kristianstad also complete the top 10. And I have to say that Mick Knowlton is trying to get away, but Philip Vava is coming under pressure from not just Hannes Morin, who's gone right back past him, and Axel Saniala is trying to do the same as well, so the Spaniard could lose 2 positions. A little bit of a love tap between Saniala and Vava there for third, but both drivers pretty much not unsettled by that, and right behind them is Jesper Sjöberg in the 204, as looks like, I'm just trying to keep an eye on this battle, and Saniala has now got past Vava, so Vava now down into 4th position. So 6 minutes, 10 seconds plus an additional lap to go. Excuse me. So Mick Knowlton now has pulled a gap to just over 7/10 of a second between himself and current championship leader Hannes Morin. Saniala has gone up the inside of the championship leader, and it's side by side. Oh, there's contact between the pair of them. Saniala is pushed wide, and that's allowed Vava to go through. Sjöberg, I think, just made it through as well. Not quite, but Hannes Morin, I think, has just held on to 3rd place by the skin of his Nomex. My goodness. That was very, very close, but I have to say, nice work by Saniala to keep it going and kept the throttle planted. But he's lost out as a result of that. He's now dropped down, I think, to 6th place. So Sjöberg and Jansson have now gone up into 4th and 5th, respectively. And they're now on the back of that 2-kart squabble between Philip Vava and Hannes Morin. And now that was a save and a half from Hannes Morin. So the Swede using his track knowledge to great advantage in some respects of being able to keep it where he needed to. So Knowlton has been allowed to break away from those battling behind, with Philip Vava from Spain in second. Oh, there's contact between Sjöberg and Morin going into the penultimate couple of corners. It made the back axle of Morin's car step out sideways. So Sjöberg is right on the back bumper of Morin going into turn 1 and 2. So 4 minutes 24 seconds plus an additional lap to go. And this battle for not just for 2nd, 3rd, I think it's going to be, well, for 3rd, 4th. Then you're talking about 5th and 6th with Sjöberg and Jansson also in the fight, as Jansson goes up the inside of Sjöberg going into turn 6. And Sjöberg is very much on the attack straight away, but can't do the switchback on Jansson. So Jansson now up into 4th position. Or 5th position, I think so. Well, that could have been Saniala on Jansson, I think, if I'm very much mistaken. Yes, it is. Yes, Saniala now gets past Jansson into 5th position. So Saniala now making some signs of a resurgence and a recovery after that off-track excursion a few moments ago. Meant that the Finn had to be on the comeback trail. He has started to claw back. And just keeping an eye on where he is. Saniala is now on the back bumper of Sjöberg and does exactly the same to Sjöberg into turn 6. So in 2 laps at the same corner. But Sjöberg goes straight back on the offensive, retakes the position. So 2:47 Saniala and Sjöberg battling over 5th and 4th position respectively. So Saniala is not letting Sjöberg out of his sight and goes up the inside into the final couple of corners and makes good his intentions by going as wide as possible, exiting the corner, having executed the overtake. So Axel Saniala does a great job there to get one past of Jesper Sjöberg, who started in 4th and is now in 5th place. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Mick Knowlton has extended the gap between himself and Philip Vava from Spain to just over 1.4 seconds. Morin is just a further 0.4 of a second adrift, with Saniala now 4th. So Saniala could get up close and personal with Hannes Morin again. But now he's got to sort of really use a good strategy here to try and get past the Swede. But there are just a couple of minutes to go, plus an additional lap here, as Mick Knowlton crosses the start-finish line. Gap between himself and Philip Vava has now gone down to 1.3 seconds. Hannes Morin in third, Sarniala, Sjöberg, Jansson, Astrand, Knutsson, Axel and Kverkilt ran out the top 10. Kristianstad and Parviainen complete the top 12, as the gaps are now starting to spread equilaterally between the three battling over second, third and fourth position. That's Philip Vava, Hannes Morin and Axel Sarniala. So, but we still have just under 90 seconds plus an additional lap to go here in this final qualifying heat. Bradley Barrett has now made his way back up into 19th position, with Miles Apps and David Remy now retirees as of 6 or 7 laps ago, after contact that involved them, and also Jordan Brown-Nutley, who's down in 27th and last. So Astrand has now got past Jansson for position. So Astrand in the Kalle Astrand in the 209, now up into 6th place. Bantila now gets past Sjögren for 16th. So we have 41 seconds on the clock to go, and it is still the number 294 of Mick Knowlton is continuing to lead, but Sarniala is definitely out for blood, and he's looking to get past Hannes Morin as they go into the final couple of corners or so, the final sector here at Kristianstad. So this is the battle for third position. The leader is checking out pretty much. So Hannes Morin has got a handful for company, and that just happens to be the form of Finland's Axel Sarniala, who goes side by side and has got the inside line going into turn number 1, and the Finn makes the move stick. Nice work by Axel Sarniala to take the position, and had actually done the manoeuvre before we'd even gone into turn 1, but across the start-finish line was just quite literally 10 thousandths of a second ahead of the Swede. So we are fast approaching the end of this race, and it's been a dramatic one for the Senior Max division here for qualifying heat number 3. So Mick Knowlton is now coming around the final couple of corners. Into the penultimate corner comes the 294. So Mick Knowlton is going to have another way to celebrate here, because the 294 of Mick Knowlton takes the win ahead of Spain's Philip Vava. Axel Sarniala takes third from Hannes Morin, with Jesper Sjöberg rounding out the top 5. Kalle Astrand in the 209 takes 6. And you had Felix Jansson in the 285 was 7th. And Robin Knutsson was 8th. You then had Bengtsson Axel in 9th, ahead of Konrad Kristiansen. So looks like, well, it's going to be, sorry, I got ahead of myself there. I saw final lap, and it's now, but it is pretty much going to be confirmed that Mick Knowlton now takes the checkered flag and takes the win, with Vava finishing in second, Sarniala third, ahead of Hannes Morin, Jesper Sjöberg, Kalle Astrand, Felix Jansson, Bengtsson Axel, Knutsson, Kristiansen round out the top 10. As we're just waiting for our final couple of competitors to come through, and it looks like Jordan Brown-Nutley will finish ahead of Buthorn and Vertela. So let's run you through the finishing order, because it was a win in the third and final Senior Max qualifying heat for Mick Knowlton in the 294. Ahead of Philip Vava from Spain, with Axel Sarniala getting one up on Hannes Morin in 4th, with Jesper Sjöberg in 5th, Kalle Astrand in 6th, ahead of Felix Jansson, Bengtsson Axel. Then you also had Robin Knutsson and Konrad Kristiansen rounding out the top 10, ahead of Lagem Ali, Kverkild, Newnham, Parviainen, Van Vark, Bantila, Barrett, Harrison, Rundqvist, Sjögren, Rabangje, Pilka, Rolka, Jensen, Brown-Nutley, Buthorn and Vertela, with Apps and Remy 2 retirees.